Are you going to be the victim or the victor? She kind of looked at me and said, "Oh, you're giving your advice for free, you dumbass."
That's me.
Let's start up your own company. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm going to make you uncomfortable. He's walking up to Everest, and the way he describes it, and he stands there and he goes, "There's a dead body there. There's a dead body. There's a dead," and he's out of oxygen, right? And I'm already ranked 5th in the world at age 20. So I was the top Canadian wrestler at the time. So 21 days before the Olympic final, I was in a hospital having back surgery for a ruptured disc.
Ooh, man.
I actually watched the opening ceremony from my hospital bed and in a few tears, to be very direct.
Molley.
I got told, are you going to be the victim or the victor? Ended up winning all my matches right to the final, lost to Bruce in the final, asked to beat me one more time. I'm pretty boring for a football player because I got the same wife we'll be married 37 years. And then next thing I know, I'm opening up my own consulting business about 25 years ago.
What's your workout? What kind of diet are you running? Because you look like a super healthy guy. Welcome back to the Tim Teaches podcast. I'm your host, Tim McCoy. Today I have the absolute pleasure of being joined by Bob Molley. He's an Olympic athlete. He played professional football in the CFL. After that, he became a motivational speaker, an author. His book serves as a manual for those striving to transcend personal and professional boundaries. Today, Bob dedicates himself to inspiring others to embrace challenges and to foster growth. Bob, welcome to the Tim Teaches podcast. I appreciate you joining me.
Thanks, Tim. And the title of the book, Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable.
I don't really want to start out with the bread and butter. I kind of want to know a little bit more about you and like where you were raised, how you grew up.
Yeah, no problem. And you can deviate anywhere you want to go. Background, I grew up one of 4 boys. Dad was a policeman. You would know all about law enforcement. And mom, a nurse in a little town called Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. My relatives actually came from the States in the 1800s. And I think grandma was born in Minnesota in the 1800s. And even on the other side was Wisconsin. But what happened, they moved up, land was open, free if you homesteaded it in Canada. So probably jumped a couple of horses and went up into Canada, and that's where my history kind of comes up into how they eventually ended up in Canada. And I was one of 4 boys, all athletic. In fact, as mom would say, I would like to brag about this and say I was just the nicest boy in the kid on the block. Mom said if there was a fight, Bob was always involved.
All right. That's the way.
We're getting right off the bat. Probably go
perfect.
Oh, if there's a fight, that Bob's going to wrestle him, or that Bob wouldn't back down from anyway. So I guess I wasn't that smart at the time. I didn't back down from anybody. You got to know your opponent. And
how'd your dad take that as being a police officer?
Oh, Dad worked shift work, so he wasn't around kind of during the day. He was kind of detective during the day, and then we wouldn't see him till nighttime. So we'd hope all the fires got calmed down by nighttime. He was a big guy. So I'm only 6'4". My brothers, I got 6'5", 6. I'm 6'4", and we got 1 6'3". So kind of all over the place on the brother side of things. But I would like to brag and say I was recruited all over the United States of America for a scholarship for wrestling, football, or hockey, and I was recruited by nobody. So well,
I'm the short one out of my family too. At the guy's side, I'm 6'4", and my brother was 6'6", and my dad was 6'5". So we got some height as well. And we got the same hairstyles.
As it moved on, we just were always competitive. All the kids were in sports, football, whatever. But I was the only one that wrestled out of the 4 boys. One was a hockey player. Brother played Fresno State University.
Oh, wow.
And went on to the CFL after that. One was a hockey player, played in AHL and farm system, never made the NHL, played for about 10 years. He was Anchorage, Alaska scholarship. I tried to get recruited. I'd be embarrassed to tell you how many places I sent, but no one even knew where Saskatoon, Saskatchewan was. I wanted to get recruited for wrestling. I thought it was pretty good. And I was placed 3rd in Canada at the time in freestyle and sent messages to everybody, and everybody, no reply.
Yeah, that's pretty good. 3rd in the country. Jeez.
Oh, that was in Canada, so I don't know if no one ever thought it was Canada was any good. I went applied to all these places. No one did. And then I went to a tournament in the off season, went to Fraser, And it was the Western Canada Open, and I beat both their heavyweights and won the championship at whatever, 18 years of age. And then they recruited me to Simon Fraser. So that's how I ended up there, right? And I said, can I get a football scholarship too if I come here or that? And he talked to the football coach. So that's how all my humble beginnings started. Get comfortable being uncomfortable, got recruited by nobody.
I mean, hey, you pushed through it though, and you figured out how to get there. So that's resilience.
To be very blunt with you, I was just very lucky to be surrounded by some great people. You're out of Oregon. Our head coach at the time, my Olympic coach, was out of Oregon State. And he had got recruited up there to start the wrestling team at Simon Fraser University. Simon Fraser was the only university in, I don't know if you know this, but we're the bad people in Canada because we're the only NCAA 2A university, right?
Oh, okay.
Outside of obviously the United States of America. So they competed not in the Canadian League, they competed just NCAA 2A, right? Football, wrestling, hockey, everything. So it was a natural for me. I could play football, wrestle, everything, and go all through the States. So that's kind of my beginning up there. And they gave me 2 scholarships, and I just went, wow. I was the first person who got 2 scholarships, and I said, okay, let's go. And kind of, the journey began, right? And wrestling, football, and I was just hyper focused on 2 sports. But then I'm already ranked 5th in the world at age 20. So I was the top Canadian wrestler at the time. And I trained like a madman 12 months a year. I'm just being upfront with you, right?
Yeah.
I trained 3 times a day. I was obsessive, compulsive kind of guy.
That's what it takes.
Yeah, especially in that sport. And the thing just grew from that. But I was fortunate enough. This is a good story, actually. The guy I lost to in the Olympic final, Bruce Baumgartner, he was the first 4-time Olympic medalist in wrestling history in any country. 84 and 88, 92, 96. And I had known Bruce because of competitions, World Cup, World Championships, Pan Am. I lost to him every time.
Yeah.
So he was like a pain in the ass. And one time I walked up to him, and obviously we're kind of like one of the few countries that speak English that wrestling was a big thing in the United States and Canada. And he had Soviet Union back then. There was no Russia. He'd come up and I said, hey, you got Soviet Union right off the bat. Would it help at all if I, warmed you up before this match comes up? He goes, that'd be awesome, Bob, because everybody, they would deal with 200, 300-pound bodies back there.
Monsters, yeah.
There was no weight limit back then. So you could be 400 pounds. You could be, I don't know, back in the day, the tap tackers, 440, you know what I mean? NCAA championships and stuff like that. And you get massive guys and steroided guys from every country in the world. And anyways, the Russians were very good wrestlers too, obviously at the time. And he had to accept matches. I said, could I help you warm you up? And we started a relationship, chatting back and forth, and warmed him up. About a half an hour later, he comes back to me, and I got the East German at the time, and he was eventual world champion. But I had him right off the bat. And he goes, Bob, you got that? Can I warm you up? So we returned the favor, right? And started a relationship, and this relationship just starts to grow, right? I'm only 20 at the World Championships. I'm a baby. Wow. I'm still in university, right? Yeah. And he turns around and he goes like, all of a sudden I get a phone call. I'm in my little dorm house at Simon Fraser University up in Vancouver, Canada. And out of the blue, he phones me up and says, hey, Bob. He goes, I go, hey, who is this? He goes, Bruce Baumgartner. He's the #1 ranked guy in the world at the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And picks up the phone. I said, how'd you get my phone number? Well, I phoned your athletic director, and he gave me the wrestling coach, and the wrestling coach gave me your number. And what's up? And he goes, hey, I got all this money. This is a great story. He goes, I got all this money. Well, we're poor students. Well, you know what I mean? Obviously, tuition and all that. You got enough for food and stuff like that, but you're not buying cars or anything like that. And I was sponsored by Canada because I was ranked in the top 5 in the world at the time. And he goes, well, I get all this money, but I can't spend it on like a car or this or a house or clothes. I got to spend it on training dollars. And he goes, hey, I'd like you, I hope you're interested. I'd like to spend my training dollars on you. And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
It was like, Here's a guy who's 20 years old and the reigning, we're number one ranked guy in the world wants to fly me down to Oklahoma State University. He was the assistant coach at OSU at the time. And he says, I'll rent you a house. I'll put all the food in there. I'll give you passes for all of that. I got access to every weight room. My wife's an athletic therapist. You got this. How about you and I get ready for the Olympics? And I'm just like, is this for real? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the training was just awesome. Him and I hit it out of the park, got along well, trained like same kind of way. But he changed one thing, which need to discuss. Not me. Never my idea. I call it R&D. I'm really good at it. It's called rob and duplicate. So I find out what they're doing good. I just steal that idea.
That's what I'm doing here.
So we didn't have computers at the time, Tim. And so he had a little room at Oklahoma State University. They were the kind of perennial NCAA champions in wrestling at the time. And we go into a room and it's all VHS tapes. And so he's got every wrestler in the world there. So Turkey, where it's, Iran, it's national sport. Like they fill hockey arenas, with basketball, 15,000 people for a dual meet. It's crazy over there, And he comes up and we kind of started analyzing all the different wrestlers. And he goes, and it kind of changed my context, I think would be the best thing to do, where even most of my consulting business, I mimic it. And what he did was he turned around and he said, what are the top 3 moves? There's a million moves in wrestling. Everybody knows the basic moves, but what are you great at? They know you're going to do it, but they can't stop you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I think of football because I like to follow that. It's like watching Kelsey at Kansas City, and he'll go out and everybody knows what he's going to do, but they can't stop him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He'll catches the ball. You know what I mean? Then, and just consistent. They know what he's going to do, still can't stop him. And we go, what 3 moves are we going to do against here's what Japan's going to do. Here's what China's going to do. Here's what this is going to do. And we just focused on 3 things that we're going to do because the match is done in 6 minutes, Tim. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You make one error, you're like, you're out of it. Like, what are your top 3? And it really focused me in on not trying to do all the moves and kind of be mediocre at it, just be specialized. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Narrow your focus on what you're good at.
He was a big part of that transition for me and then him and I, it was kind of weird the whole way it went because I'm only 21 years old at the Olympics. And I think I'm ranked, the world, I was ranked 5th at the time. And he's number 1. And the weird thing happened, well, a whole bunch of weird things happened, but 18 days before the match, they brought in a big heavyweight. He was, I trained with, he was out at LSU and he was about 365 pounds. Unfortunately, I blew out my back training with him every day. He's 6'6", 365 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah, monster.
And that's another story too. He went on to WWF and made his millions. And unfortunately buried him at 42. And yeah, and his name was John Kenton. His WWF name was called the Earthquake. You can Google that one after. You'll like that one.
Nice.
And trained with him, blew up my back. So 21 days before the Olympic final, I was in a hospital having back surgery for a ruptured disc.
Oh, man.
And so I woke up still there for a couple of days, and I woke up to the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, and I obviously didn't take me to the Olympics. So it was kind of a really awkward situation. Canada didn't even want to fly me down because they said, well, you're not going to make it anyways. You're in back surgery. So I had to pay my own way down.
Whoa.
You think your country's going to back you on the time. Not that I was bitter about it or anything at the time, but you won't recover in time and stuff like that. So I actually watched the opening ceremony from my hospital bed and in a few tears, to be very direct.
Holy moly. Can I ask you about the process real quick about becoming an Olympic athlete? I'm not familiar because I'm not an Olympian. What is like, how do you have to, you try out? Do they have just like an open tryout, or they just pick the top dudes in the country and say, okay, yeah, you can come, or can anybody basically sign up? Not anybody, but I mean, what's kind of the process of becoming representing your country?
I think ours is very similar to the States. I could be wrong. they have a pool of people that they're ranked because the rankings are going all the time, top 6, top whatever, right? So there's a whole bunch of criteria that have to be made during that process. And the first criteria, someone at that weight division had to be in Canada. I think it was top 16 in the world at the time, top 18, something like that.
Wow.
There had to be someone at that weight class that placed at a tournament that gives you a top 18 ranking.
Okay. And then
Or they
you
don't
did a
even qualify to win
tryouts.
the championship, but they're not sending the weight class, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And
this
then you
is
got
kind of
Olympic
confusing.
trials where it'll get down to maybe top 3, top 4 people, and they'll have a wrestle off, and then your top one goes.
Is it pretty common for guys to get injured on their way in those trials?
Yeah, how brutal wrestling is. You rip your hamstring, rip that because every joint's getting cranked on all the time, right?
That's got to be brutal. I mean, if you're working your whole life to get into the Olympics and then all of a sudden you get to the finale and
Yeah, I'm already at that. I'm the top ranked Canadian, right?
yeah,
No one else is in the top 5, and so that, and then you're sitting there in a pool of sitting in your pillow crying, going, "Hey, that's supposed to be me walking onto the stadium there in LA," but not so luck. So,
so you made that flight though.
well, I made the flight a week later, so I was lucky on all the dominoes had to fall into place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just very fortunate that I had all the dominoes. First of all, the super heavyweight match was like the last day of the Olympics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever, 21 days, whatever it was at the time, 14 or 21 days. So I had an operation. I spent 1 week in there, a couple of days up at Simon Fraser trying to rehab. And then I flew down to LA and tried to finish my rehab there, right?
Oh, man.
And so it was a really awkward thing. Coaches didn't know what to do with me. Do I put him on that? Can he wrestle? Can he this? You know what I mean? Is he going to pass the drug test because he's been drugged up for, on painkillers for how long? And then I had to go through the sampling on that too, pee in the bottle. We're not talking steroids. We're talking painkillers because I had a ruptured disc, which they took out. So, when you talk about the ebb and flow of it, you just go up and down like a damn yo-yo, right? Mentally, you learn a lot about yourself at age 21. You know what I mean? You're going to go, okay, what's going to define you? Are you going to be, as I got told, are you going to be the victim or the victor? You know what I mean?
And you were the victor.
Yeah. So, and on all accounts, and then the weirdest thing happened. A media guy walked up to me. It was the craziest thing. A media guy walks up to me, and I didn't even know what was going on. We have to obviously pass skin tests, weight tests, and all the other stuff. You weigh in, and that pass physicals, whatever. And a guy goes, "Hey, did you hear what happened?" I'm like, "No, that." And the first guy I drew was actually the only guy I don't want to draw is Bruce Baumgart, the number 1 guy in the world, right? Because you're on the back side fighting for third, and you read double the matches to do that. It's the only guy I want to be on the opposite side if lucky. You know what I mean? I drew Bruce first match, and I just go, "You're kidding me!" Of all the luck, here I got my back uppers, I got this, and you just go, "Come on." There's got to be some hope here. Someone got to, an olive branch here somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And next thing I know, media guy comes rapping on my back. Hear what happened? I thought he was talking about I drew Bruce Baumgart right off the bat. And I go, "Yeah, I know. I had to quit harassing me. Kind of leave me alone. You know what I mean?" And worst draw, I go, "No, did you hear what happened?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" I still thought he was talking about the draw. One of the guys that was wrestling in there at the tournament from Sweden, and big, massive guy, steroided, 6'3", 320 pounds, massive guy. He'd wrestled Greco before, and then he went in the freestyle tournament. And there's 2 kinds of testing. There was random back then and mandatory. And he tested positive for steroids.
Oh, man.
The tournament had to start, and they had to redo the draw.
Oh, shit.
So they grab him on a plane. As soon as someone gets caught with drugs, they just grab them and boom, you're on a plane to wherever he was eating. And they throw him on a plane, redo the draw. Bruce ends up at the top of the draw, I end up at the bottom draw. The only chance I can meet him is finals.
Oh, my gosh.
Thank you. What is going on? You know what I mean?
Was that pretty common? Dudes on steroids back then, or no?
Well, you knew it, but very few people, I don't know if they knew how to hide it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember talking when I trained in the Soviet Union, I go there twice a year and you'd have an interpreter and you'd ask a Russian, and they'd ask you for what kind of drugs or something you're on. And you'd go, no, I'm not on any drugs or nothing like that. And they go, well, don't you want to win?
Yeah. Yeah. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. And that's
Exactly.
so.
The Olympic medal, they're paid the rest of their life back then.
Wow.
Just like they're hockey players or whatever, you're considered military, right?
Yeah.
And all you did was train and get your 100 grand or 60 grand, whatever you made. But once you medal, you got paid the rest of your life,
Wow.
But you're really part of the military, but all you did was train for that sport.
Huh. Interesting. So
Yeah.
you finished the Olympics and you medaled in that.
Yeah, and ended up winning all my matches right to the final. Lost to Bruce in the final. Bastard beat me one more time, but
Oh man.
in all sincerity, I wouldn't have been there without the training from Bruce too. You know what I mean? What's the value of a good relationship, hey Tim?
Yeah, absolutely. So you after that, you kind of, I don't know, how long was it before you went into the CFL?
I was already drafted at 21 in Tampa Bay. In the United States drafted me. I don't know if you remember the USFL. Tampa Bay had drafted me, and the Canadian Football League had drafted me. And a couple of NFL teams flew me into different stuff and that, but they already said to me, Bob, you said you're a wrestler. We're going to move to O-line. And we want, I was probably 265, 275. And everyone said, Bob, we want you over 300 pounds O-line. We're going to switch O-line because you're a wrestler. And I go, no, I'm a D lineman. I can do this and I can do that. As soon as the CFL drafted me, they said, no, O-lineman.
How long did you play in the CFL?
I played 7 years, had a great career, had great teams, same team, loved the city, loved everything about it. And I was in the final Grey Cup every other year of my career.
Wow.
And
What's it like to be out there with the monsters?
Yeah, and that finished up with won 2 out of 3 Grey Cups, and it couldn't have had a better Cinderella. Great city, great everything. Put your arms around you. I was so fortunate to be around good people and stuff like that. Had great teammates around me. Unfortunately, all my teammates are dead now. All the old linemen. Average age for an offensive lineman, I think it's around 55. I would have never believed it. 4 of my old linemen, fullbacks dead, running backs dead. Where they're at, but they're, you know what I mean?
Is it drugs, alcohol, depression, just heart attacks? What's killing these guys?
Great question. I would have thought it would have been, still the number one killer. A lot of people think it's something else like head injuries or something like that. It's still the number one killer for offensive linemen. We keep our weight on. Well, I didn't die on 225, from 300, but heart attacks is number one killer for us still, which is normal population. Everybody heart attacks. But a lot of guys go back and I see them and they maybe weigh 300 pounds, 310. Now you see them, they maybe 335, 345. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then hard on the heart. Most of one guy died from kidney failure. I always think of Lyle Alzado when I think of that, I think he was brain cancer at the time, but he was drugged up a little bit. And 2 of them from cancer. Don't know, you don't know where that comes from.
Yeah.
And you talk to 10 different doctors, they'll give you 10 different ideas. So, lost a couple on that. One to heart attack and one to brain cancer. So 3 out of the 5 were cancers.
Wow.
Where that originated, I have no idea.
Yeah. It's like you dodged the bullet. You're the the exception. That's interesting. I mean, you are the exception with your career. What's it like coming out of the CFL, and what was kind of your next career move? And was there like depression, anxiety, excitement? What was kind of your feeling coming out of professional sports?
Yeah, that's a great question. And the reason it's such a great question, I've seen so many people fail at it. Because when you're back in Winnipeg, or it's kind of like, it's a hockey and football town, professional sport. They got Winnipeg Jets and Bombers. But when you come out of a thing, you go to any bar just about, or be a place on the house, they'd love you to come in. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's spoiled rotten. And the city is such a fantastic city because it puts its arms around you and hugs the shit out of you. And the relationships that I had were fantastic. I adjusted faster than anybody else because of a couple reasons. I never slowed down. I'm pretty boring for a football player because I got the same wife for, well, we'll be married 37 years, right?
Wow. Good for
And
you.
I don't mean to, I'm about the only person who never wins an argument with my wife. I married a judge. So how many arguments do you think I win?
Zero.
Why do you think that high? I'm not even at zero. We're still in love 38 years later, which
That's
is
interesting. I'm actually going. I'm going out to dinner with a judge that I've never met. Her husband. We've been talking quite a bit, and we're having dinner for the first time. And it's a local prominent person here, and so I'm curious about, for her, from her perspective and your wife's perspective. I don't know how big of an area you're in, but are you getting? You got to watch how I'm sure you live a good life, but everybody knows here comes the judge and they're being watched at all times. It's kind of like law enforcement.
Yeah, and your social circle gets really small really fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's so much protection. I don't think it's any different in the States where underground parking, there's this, there's security, there's private this. They don't go for lunches. They got their own lunchroom, their own office, their own entryway, their own exit, their own, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a nice elating world, really.
Yeah, your social circle gets pretty tight pretty fast. And on the positive side, there's so many new people I've met through that community with judges and everything because they kind of hang as a pack together, and been fantastic people and stuff like that. And they're experiencing the same thing you are.
Yeah. So, what did you get into career-wise after you got out of the CFL?
Well, I already had two careers going. So I was a wrestling coach at the University of Manitoba. I got recruited at that at 25. So I took over the University of Manitoba wrestling team. It was dead. It was like, well, not dead, but their top 25 rankings. They were in the top 25, didn't even win a match. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
They turned around and said, "Hey, 25, can you take over a wrestling team while you play football and just come from that practice and go to this one at the university?" Sure. And I was like, "Oh, Karen, do you think I should do this?" "I think I can do it." So I took over the head coach in that one while I was playing ball. So I'd go from one practice to the other and then start the wrestling practice. I'd train them in the morning first thing, maybe cardio or weights or something like that. And then I'd go to football practice and then I'd rage back to the university and then train the wrestling for the next 2 hours.
Man, so you just never stop.
Yeah, but it was really great because I could recruit. Every time I kind of got spoiled. I don't know about spoiled, but I took advantage of the role. Anytime we played a pro football game, Toronto or in Hamilton, all the different cities where you have pro football teams, Ottawa, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd fly there and they had such a massive population in all those cities. I'd just find out who the top wrestlers were in that city. Obviously, I get free tickets from our PR guy, good relationship with him, the head coach. And I'd take him out to a restaurant the night before and say, "Hey, we're starting a new program here at University of Manitoba. Come on out. I'd like to tell you what we're doing. Yeah, we haven't done shit in the last 25 years. Like, guess what? We're rebuilding it." And recruited. Not too many people wanted to go to Manitoba from Ontario because we're kind of like the middle of prairies, minus 40, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one told me, "Hey, I want to spend my off season in Winnipeg," but it was fantastic. Recruited big time. Bring the kids on the field at the end of the game. Head coach had no problem. I'd bring the coach and all the good, quarterbacks and receivers. They'd do autographs for the kids. The parents would just love it, right? Next thing I got a bad team that, and I ended up, Tim, we came fifth the first year. We came third the next year. Then we won a national championship. And
wow.
Bob, that's fantastic. In 3 years, you turned around and got a national championship. You must be, you're such a great coach. I go, "You're the great coach. I recruit well."
Yeah, you're a recruiter, not that's amazing.
Yeah, but you still can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. You got to get the right people, right?
Yeah.
And I recruited people. We came second the next year. Then we won a national championship. Then I packed it in. So that transition, when football ended, I kind of ended that at the same time. And I was getting recruited by a pharmaceutical company because I did a Bachelor of Science in college. And they said, "Hey, would you be interested? You got pretty good PR skills." My wife might challenge that one, but and I went into the pharmaceutical business and did that for a couple of years. Had great relationship with Doc, won a couple of awards in that, and then got recruited by another company, and then the game goes on, right? And then
Yeah.
next thing I know, I'm opening up my own consulting business about 25 years ago. I was just too busy, and this is a funny story. My wife came up to me, Karen, and she goes like this, and she goes, "You're on the phone all the time and this and that." I'm getting, in the meantime, I ran an Ironman. I was training for an Ironman.
Wow.
We had 3 kids at the time, right? She's a full-time lawyer, prosecutor with the feds. And I'm getting up at 3 in the morning because I need to get my 90K bike in before I go to work. And you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a little off the wall. Is my wife.
My sister's done 2 Ironmans. I went to one of them up in Whistler, Canada. She did it up there, and beautiful. And it was, dude, that's so impressive. Like anybody who can accomplish that, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think I set the world record for the slowest run time in the record or something like that. No. I think someone came up to me and said, when you started your run, you're at whatever. It was at Penticton, BC at the time, Ironman Canada. And I think I did okay swim. I did about $1.07. Then I did a pretty good bike. And then I got to carry my weight, obviously, on the run. And I came up and I met the hot tub later. I'm having a couple beers. I'm just trying to get fluids back. I shouldn't have been drinking beer, but anyway, I had a couple of coolies at the end of it, just finished there. And guy comes up, "Hey, Bob, how's it going?" And then another girl comes up, "Hey, Bob, how you doing with that?" And then everybody in the hot tub knows it. The guy looks over at me and he goes, "Holy shit, are you from Penticton?" I go, "No." He goes, "Well, how come everybody knows you?" And I said, "They all passed me on the run."
Damn.
They go, "Hey, you're a pretty good guy for doing this race here." And then we chat for a bit and then take off. I remember looking back on it out of 15, I finished like 700 and something in the middle of the pack, but I was at, I don't know, 400, something like that after the bike. And so I recorded it. I was like, "Oh man, you're about close to 300 people that passed me."
Wow. That's all right. You still made it at the middle of the pack. That's okay.
"Oh shit, you're from here." "No, how come everybody knows you?" Awesome. Not very nice, eh?
No, but shit, you did it. You made it. That's what counts.
No, I think I have fun in life. I've had progressions all the way through. I've had got recruited into a big tech firm then at the time, a Ceridian, to take over their management. It's a U.S. company out of Minneapolis, and they had just bought a whole bunch of payroll like ADP. I don't know if you ever heard of that before. There was and a company recruited me out of that. Went for that, but traveling quite a bit. And I just got in the corporate game, and I just went, I'm not that corporate guy that sits at the board desk and watches people, kind of lobby for the next, higher up, and stuff like that. And I just go, "No, I'm done with that bullshit." And I'm 62 now, and 25 years ago, over that, I just went, "No, I'm just going to go on my own." Because my wife knew at the time I was answering calls. She goes, why are these people calling you?"
Yeah.
"Well, they want advice on this." They want advice on this. She kind of looked at me and said, "Oh, you're giving your advice for free, you dumbass."
Yeah, that's me.
"Let's start up your own company." That's exactly what she said. Kind of looked at me and went,
Yeah.
"You know why they're calling you? They want advice on XYZ." And then everything just exploded, and the business just went crazy for the last 25 years.
That's amazing. Do you feel kind of weird going from giving free advice to charging for advice? And how's that transition? Are you like, "Hey, you need to start paying me for this," or do you?
I think I don't know if other people can just do the job. I didn't do it really well.
Yeah.
What are you going to charge? It was like the first speaking engagement. "Can you come here?" "Oh, what do I charge? How about $100? Is that too much?" You know what I mean? $100 an hour. No one charges $100 an hour, man. "I'll do $100. You know what I mean? Next thing I know, $200. You know what I mean? I should have helped my charges. I got too many. I got it. She goes, "Up your prices," and then that's how we started speaking like 30 years ago. And then next thing you're $2,000, $5,000,
Yeah.
10,000. It was like, then you're going 10 grand plus X amount of books plus this. You know what I mean?
That's
And
incredible.
I'll do a seminar for another 5 grand the next morning. You know what I mean? It just,
Yeah.
you grow with it, you learn. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you become more valuable, and your story is is amazing. Yeah, some of these guys are charging a boatload of money, and I think to myself, I'm like, what are they providing? But I mean, you're providing a lot value. Yep. And
So that was all the transitions that I did. And so many people asked me questions about the book. Well, it wasn't the book so much. Oh, this is a funny story, actually. I got recruited by a guy named Robert Kiyosaki.
I was going to ask you about him. I heard that. Oh, yeah. Rich Dad Poor Dad.
They hired me probably 10 years ago. They were doing a speaking gig. This is for public consumption. I don't know about. You're going to have to edit this out of your show. What happened? And one of their people from their office called me, and he's out of Phoenix, and his book sold like 40 million copies. Rich Dad Poor Dad. And he was coming to Edmonton. I think he gets like $100,000 a pop, for a speaking gig, something stupid like that, or I don't know what it is. And obviously his book sales and that. Anyways, he fills an auditorium for 2 days, and he's got guest speakers. And they said, we heard about you. We'd like you to be our speaker for our opener because we heard you're an energy guy. I said, well, right. You might challenge you. My wife might challenge you on that too. And he turns around, and this is no shit. This has happened the night before. You meet all the speakers who have done speaking, gigs for, how many years. And meet all the people from all over, mostly the United States, but they're up in Edmonton, Canada at the time on the 2-day conference. And meet one of the guys, and we're just, have a wine and cheese, and then you go back. But I'm first speaker out in the morning, Saturday morning, for the weekend event. And I never forgot this. This was hilarious. I come out of backstage, do a good presentation, light it up, come backstage, and the guy that I met the night before, he's coming on stage that afternoon, walks up to me, and he goes like this. He walks up to me, just looks at me, goes, "Hey, Bob, really like your speech. Too bad you're a dumbass."
Oh, shit. Why?
I didn't know he was sarcastic or what he's saying to me. You know what I mean? No shit. Yeah. I was like, is he joking? What's he saying? Like, bad speech? What? He goes, I said, dumbass? And I just reported that.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah. When you walked off stage, there was about 300 people that walked to the back of the room to buy your book. And you didn't have a book. You're a dumbass. And then exact words I said to him. I turned around and said, what would I write about? I don't know how to write. I don't think I'm that good a writer, and this and that. He says, you just told 3 stories up there.
Yeah.
I have a feeling you could put 10 stories together and get a book. That's exactly what he told me. And he goes, it's your business card on steroids, Bob. Trust me, get a book. And that's what started to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
I'm getting this look on my face because this is the second time I've talked to 2 people today, and they're like, you need to write a book. And I'm like, I don't. So here you are. How do you even start that process? What's that like? What's that look like for you? Do you do it yourself? Do you get a ghostwriter? Like, how does it manifest itself?
Yeah, no, I just started writing. I found it painful from where it go. Just started putting stories together, started typing down stuff and saying, hey, that would be a good story. How about this story? How about that story? And I had so many things that went on in my life that were uncomfortable, and just go, how did you do this? How did you do that? And people are always asking me that. So I just put 10 stories together and put a book. Wow. And put it in Spanish, and then company out of Mexico hired me, and I was doing speaking there. And then the Kiyosaki things hired me to go worldwide with them. I was in, and it was tough travels. Don't get me wrong. You're in Germany for 2 days, then you're in Holland. You know what I mean? You're like, then you're in Poland, then you know what I mean? It's tough travel.
Yeah, it sounds fun. Sounds fun for a while.
When you wake up and because you're still jet lagged, and okay, it's 2:00 in the afternoon back home, and I'm looking for a Starbucks in downtown Brussels or something. You're trying to stay awake because I'm first thing on the morning. And if I fall asleep, I won't wake up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So are you still on the road doing that kind of stuff? Or are you kind of now doing coaching? What's your jam now?
80% of my business is consulting. So companies reach out to me, and all I do is do one crazy thing. I'm serious. Actually, back to what you and I were talking about before, Tim, it's just I put teams together. And people always joke because I put football teams together. I coached football for 25 years, and they go, how did you do this? How did you win a championship here? Or you won a championship here? And I'm just going, well, put that guy there, move that guy there, and then stuff like that. I found it natural, or kind of an arranger. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then I started doing it. I did it. One of the fastest growing companies in Canada was called Skip the Dishes. And they'd hired me to come into the company, and there were a couple of thousand employees that made billions of dollars. They were kind of like a food delivery company, like Uber Eats, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Except the Canadian version, it got bought out by a huge multi-billion dollar company. And they flew me in there and said, hey, can you do the same thing you're doing with all those other companies? And really, back to what we talked about, Tim, with Bruce Baumgartner, is just focusing on strengths. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Strength Finder. Like,
No, I haven't.
there's 34 strengths in the world. Go look it up. Strength Finders, owned by Gallup poll. They bought them out. But I'd find people's strengths, and then I'd just go, hey, hire that person, this, and I'd find the strengths. And people didn't. I had a whole kind of Rolodex of how I'd evaluate talent. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Out of these 34 strengths, and I go, they're going to get this, this, and this out of that person. What do you want? What's your end game? You know what I mean?
I have to ask you, have you ever seen the movie Office Space?
No.
Oh, no, you got to watch it. They bring in these consultants, and it's Bob and Bob, and they tell them how to manage everything. It's a funny movie, so it was just running through my head. I had to mention it. You would probably get a kick out of it because that's exactly what you're doing. Yeah.
Office Spaces, yeah, no. And so I started doing that, and then once I did it with that company, then other companies they'd refer me off, say like this, and then business went crazy, right? So
Yeah.
the consulting, I do a speaking gig probably once a month, and so I don't like traveling that much. I still like to exercise. I'm boring. Go to bed. I'm just being blunt with you. I go to bed. I don't see. Sometimes I stay up late, like 7:30 at night. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, I've been going to bed. Yeah, I mean, it depends, but
I'm up at 4 in the morning though, because I usually got a whole bunch of stuff from back east, marketing groups out of Pakistan. And I just love my lifestyle. I go to the gym every day. I bike everywhere. I don't take a vehicle. I have bikes in across Canada. Got clients in the States too, and it just works extremely well. I love what I do. I wake up every morning and I got to pinch myself, and I go, as both my buddies say, they kind of look at me and they go, yeah, how come you're a pretty lucky bastard, because you got a beautiful wife and she's pretty smart and you're not that good looking. You're funny the odd time, but
how what's your workout? What kind of diet are you running? Because you look like a super healthy guy, and people are going to be watching this and go, how can I be like Bob?
I don't know if you ever want to be like Bob. I was kind of like the crazy guy, you know what I mean? Diet, I would, I'm a one meal guy a day.
Yeah. Oh man.
Have dinner, probably hit the veggie plate pretty hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll do a lot of meat, fish I love, but my wife, when she comes in on the weekends, because she lives in Calgary, flies here and she makes me a bowl of bone broth soup, so vegetables, and fills up my deep freeze basically full of soups, and that's basically what I have for dinner just about every night. Right, love it, and makes all kinds of different soups and stuff like that, and that's pretty much it's all vegetables. I'd say 99%. She'll throw chicken and shrimp and stuff like
I mean, you look pretty brawny, man. You keep your muscle on with that.
Yeah, but you're in your 60s, guess what? We lose a percentage every day like that. But I bike everywhere. The only time I don't bike, I'm just being candid with you, is when I pick my wife up at the airport. She probably doesn't want me to double her back from the airport on my bike. Right? And so I pick her up at the airport, but I got, how many vehicles I got? My wife collects old Mustangs. She's crazy.
Oh, wow.
And I'm never in a vehicle. I'm just being candid with you. Like, I'm on a bike everywhere, and I'm, 225. I just came back from a month in Australia. Our daughters, we're there a couple times a year. We're back in March for another month, but because our daughter's having her third child out there, she got 3 Aussies out there, and when we had 3 kids, and my wife goes, "Hey, we'll never retire. We love what we do. We love being a judge. I love kind of, I'm unemployable, so life is good, right? I couldn't be glad. I got to pinch myself sometimes.
That's the way to be, man. You are living the dream.
Simplistic. Like, come on, seriously, what do you need, Tim? Like, come on, you come and eat. Like, if we don't have our health, you can't do anything, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? I love the relationships. You know what I mean? and then something to think about, something to do, something to challenge you kind of every day. And that's why I kind of do business, because it keeps my brain occupied, right?
Yeah. I just did a 72-hour fast for the first time. I ended it yesterday, and boy, that was tough for me. I've done a 36-hour. I'm, 6'5", and I push between 265 and 255, and I should be.
You look, where's that weight, but you look fantastic.
I'm okay, but I got a lot of muscle, but I need to be leaner.
How old are you now?
44. I'll be 45 in June. So
we'll have this conversation when you're in your 60s.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You look fantastic.
I'm coming up to operation. I got to replace my second hip for the second time.
Oh, damn.
I'm operation number 17.
Whoa. Damn.
Well, you know what, man? I think the worst thing was, I'm just being candid. There's a lot of runners going to hate that, but worst thing I ever did was run.
Yeah. Yep.
If I did it all over again, 6'6" in that body, that pounding and marathons, Ironmans. I probably did 40 triathlons in my day.
Whoa.
You know what I mean?
You're a beast, man.
I don't know about that, or stupid, one or the other.
Well, I don't know. I love it, but yeah, running is brutal.
Life's good. So I bike to the gym every day. Then I go on the weights probably for half an hour, mostly core exercises because I've had 2 back operations, right? Lifting up those damn heavy weights. And that stretch quite a bit, pretty flexible, even though I've had all those operations, but they're all orthopedic shit. You know what I mean? You can recover from them. I'm on no medication, resting heart rate between 52 and 48. You know what I mean? At 62, I'll take it. No meds, no nothing. Life's good. Swim every day, steam bath every day, sauna, cold shower every day. All that's in the same facility, and bike home again. Life's good. Like what do you need, right? Like, I'm serious.
You need that. Like that's the key. I mean, to a happy life. Yeah.
What do I do? And if I splurge out, I might go out and I'll get a nice big bowl of soup that's stuffed full of vegetables. Right? Or that's my big splurge for the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You got another book coming out?
Well, the book's already out. It launched. Well, that's a loaded question. So, the Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable movement, and I can't take any responsibility for this because my wife told me to. Once I put the name to my book, she said, "That's a great title. Like, you need to own that." And I thought the column and everything around it and create for it. Like, we're talking 15, 20 years ago about those.
Wow.
And it's just gone viral, like crazy. Like, how many people sent me? There's a new coach I follow, NFL, pretty heavily, and or actually an addict of it. And there's a guy named Ben Johnson that just took over the head coach for Chicago Bears. And he gets up on the thing, and all my buddies send me, "They're using your line, Bob." Goes, "I'm going to make our team just so everybody's going to notice. They're all unnoticed. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm going to make you uncomfortable."
You better get some royalties.
I don't know if everybody rapes and pillages it, so but if you own the domains to it and you own trademarks and everything else, you got a little bit, not much, but everybody rapes and pillages. So I'm just being.
Yeah. Man.
It's all positive though, because it's all advertising towards your stuff. So many people now. There's a whole bunch of people that want to go. Get comfortable being. Yeah, you ever heard the strip chicken soup for the soul, Tim?
Yeah. Yes, Robert Campfield.
Yeah, and so they want my marketing team wants to do the same thing with get comfortable being uncomfortable for females, get comfortable being uncomfortable for firemen, get comfortable being uncomfortable for military. You know what I mean? And just 10 different stories or 20 different stories, and everybody can write it. But the phrase has gone viral, so that's the cool thing. I kind of bought it way back in the day. So it's just another thing it's a play thing, right? Like, I enjoy it. Like, that's cool. I love to make money when I sleep, right?
Who doesn't? I'm trying to do that right now on YouTube. We'll see how it goes. So your buddy Mark was down there at Rhythmia in Costa Rica, did a little documentary down there, and he Campfield's affiliated with them and writing a book down there, and it's not out, so I don't want to drop too much information on it, but that's pretty cool. It's a small world. All these guys are all tied together. The who's who.
Yeah, and it's interesting how the competitiveness, I mean, you just talked about with Patterson, where he just turned around and he said, okay, I'm not done yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Went through an ugly divorce, and he's just down the street here. He's in Seattle. So him and I communicate. He goes, looks for a recommendation. Pop, can you help with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Welcome to the world of relationships. You play pro football, you that. How's your life? How can I help you? And you know what? It was just reciprocity. Just go, don't worry about it. I got your back kind of thing. You know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
oh, you're writing a book. Bob, who did you recommend to this? And then we start throwing ideas back and forth. Hey, Bob, who did this? And you know what I mean? You start to build your post-football relationships again. And then people that still got, and he goes, oh, I did this, then I got Everest, then I did.
I mean, that guy's incredible.
Yeah, and then he goes, Bob, just so you know, you're my twin in Canada. I said, you don't want to go down that mental thing. You'll be on Prozac before you know it.
Oh, don't do that. Yeah, man. He's incredible. I've gotten lucky. I don't know why some of you guys have booked with me, and man, I appreciate it, because I'm like, I'm getting to talk to some amazing people who have incredible lives, and it means the world to me for you guys to have a conversation with me, because I'm learning and trying to grow this thing and trying to help people out, and that's what you guys are doing. So it's awesome.
Yeah, but it goes both ways. You know what I mean? Everybody tried that. If you got the right people and good relationships, it all flows. You know what I mean? And you know what the coolest thing was him? You talk about, I could have had him for a chapter. I go, where in the hell were you when I was writing this book? Because he's walking up to Everest, and the way he describes it, and he stands there and he goes, there's a dead body there. There's a dead body. There's a dead, and he's out of oxygen right at the time.
Oh my God!
And we're just like the way he's describing. I'm just going, dude. I do stupid things where I'm going to get tired at the end of the day. I'm not going to die.
I know. Seriously. It's like, I enjoy life. Like, I'm cool with being on a nice warm beach,
Get my limbs ripped off and do this and do that, but I'm not going to die. And he's sitting there and he's telling me all about the dead bodies that are sitting around and frozen to death. And he's out of oxygen. And he goes, I know why these people died. They ran out of oxygen too.
I start searching them for their bottle, their oxygen bottle.
You got any oxygen here? Do you have any water? Like, I ran out of water about a day ago. And wow.
Oh man.
Well,
man, I appreciate you joining me. I don't want to take up all of your time. If people are looking to get your book or get in contact with you and acquire your services, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, good question. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. You remember the name of the book now, Tim? And so everything's on Amazon. They have the whole rights to everything. If you just Google Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable, or just Bob Molley book, I'm probably shoot that one. Bob and Molle, pronounced Molley, and book. And we got the launch has gone extremely well so far.
Awesome. Right on. Well, I sure appreciate your time, and I hope to hear from you again, and I'll cut this up and get you posted everywhere and hopefully get you some more sales out there.
Sounds great, buddy. Good chat.
All right. Thank you, sir.